My name is Tobias. I'm a Copenhagen-based photographer, so my core passion at the moment is photography. Well, I'm born a bit outside of Copenhagen, quite close to the beach, in an area called Brøndby Strand. I think my photography, or like my approach to photography, it's changing constantly. In the beginning, where I started, it was mostly, about learning and understanding kind of what I was doing. And the more I got comfortable with all the technical aspects, like I could start putting more of myself into the expression of photography. I feel like I found my unique style from growing up in a quite rough neighborhood, like a lot of concrete, lot of violence back in the 80s and 90s. It created a big sense of need in me to create something beautiful or to find beautiful moments in something a bit more rough. COVID was difficult for everyone, and especially I had my own business in photography at that point. And the most challenging part was obviously to be able to work with people because you were not allowed to work with people. We had a chance to be completely alone in the city and take photos in streets that are normally completely crowded. It was a cool opportunity in a very not nice situation. I really like to visit the same place again and see how it changed, like, for example, how the season changed the environment, or how the light in the morning compared to light in the evening has changed the environment. So I have gone back to the same locations hundreds of times and taken kind of the same photo in the same kind of structured way. But to see the difference of like how much the light or the season has changed the environment. So that's kind of like something I'm really experimenting with, and that I find, yeah, a unique factor in my photography. My top five places to take photos in Copenhagen, it's definitely Nyhavn is one of them. It's kind of a hate-love relationship because it has become extremely touristed. Which is good for Copenhagen, but it's, again, I find it a challenge to like trying to find new perspectives and new angles of Nyhavn, because it is like a very charming area, and like these old colorful houses like is really it's really representing Copenhagen in a way where I feel like, okay, that's kind of the essence of Copenhagen. But it's not really it's not an underground place or something special in that way. It's just very charming area. Yeah. So I enjoy the challenge, like, of taking photos in Nyhavn, because you need to try to do something a bit different. Yeah. Another kind of also local place is the Marble Church. It has something very interesting about it. Like, it's a magnificent church to take photos of. And yeah, you can kind of go to different rooftops in Copenhagen and you will always be able to see this church. So depending on kind of like what lenses you use or whatever, you can create very interesting perspectives, and that is showcasing the whole city. King's Garden is probably one of my favorite places to take photos, because it's kind of like it's located in the middle of Copenhagen, and it has a really beautiful castle called the Rosenborg Slot. And it's kind of this romantic feel, this like uh, fairy tale kind of vibe. But at the same time, it's just a park where everybody is just chilling a lot, and you can really catch a lot of kind of the street photography vibe, but in a nature scene. I live a bit outside of Copenhagen in an area called Nordvest, and in that area there is another church called Grundtvigskirken. It's a very like scenic place. Like, you really feel the atmosphere when you're in there. It's almost kind of looks like a spaceship that's gonna take off. And when you're inside, you get like this really Lord of the Rings vibe. So really enjoy taking photos in there. There's Axel Towers, like where I've kind of started my whole photo workshop. Like, I really enjoy shooting photos of the architecture in Copenhagen. It's kind of the opposite of, for example, King's Garden, because it's modern architecture, and it has a really cool way of showing depth of field. because it's built in layers, but the layers go up. So if you kind of take photos from down and up, then it just creates like this really interesting perspective. I feel like the charming part about Copenhagen is definitely found in the old architecture, but I do enjoy taking photos of the new architecture, and that's also kind of a charming perspective of Copenhagen, that is like built on an old foundation, but new things are constantly popping up. And yeah, so there's a lot to take photos of within architecture. There's these scenes or spots that you can choose, but it's also more like areas in Copenhagen. It's more like Vesterbro has a charm to it. Nørrebro has a charm to it, where like Nørrebro is much more rough. It's much better, cool place for street photography, for example, in my opinion, because people dress differently, and yeah, it's just a bit more like resemblance of Berlin. And yeah, so like that area, for example, it could also be a top 5 for me, and not necessarily just one spot location, but the whole area. Essential for me to revisit all these locations, because I'm working on a book at the moment where I want to showcase the 4 seasons of Copenhagen. I want to show how Copenhagen looks all year round, and how it changes the environment, and how light changes smaller things, so you can experience Copenhagen throughout the 4 seasons, because it's quite magic, how much it changes. I want to embrace the change, how I'm changing as a person, what things I find beautiful or inspiring is not the same every year. It's like my all-in approach is mostly just being open-minded for what happens in me, and what I want to express creatively. Recently did a project where I wanted to see how the influence of music would change my photography, or if it would stay the same. So I have been going around in Copenhagen listening to jazz, and then just trying to let go as much as possible, and let go of the ideas of how I normally take photos. It kind of made me show Copenhagen in a different way. Listening to music, like, it felt like you could not offend anyone, so I was much closer to people, like, and I could really see that it kind of changed the photos that I was taking. It was more people, and it was much closer to people, and I felt okay with it, because it was like you're being protected by the music or something. It was really interesting. So my plans for next year is definitely focusing on my workshops, which are running from May till end September, finishing my book, and then I'm hopefully going to have an exhibition in March showcasing my photos of Copenhagen.